a long time, and that's not to say that you're old.
I was
Obviously,
going to say not that long, right?
Experience, but I mean, having any kind of longevity in racing is never easy. Like, obviously, you're very good at what you do. You're sought after. You've moved from smaller teams like Walker and Fast, to Brian Herta, to now Andretti. What's part of the secret, or what is the, like, how does somebody manage to stay in the sport for that long?
I mean, I don't think it's any different than being successful in any business, right? If you do the right thing, treat people right, you have integrity in your dealings with people. But obviously, your batting average needs to be good as well, right? If you're making a lot of dumb decisions, probably no one's going to be looking for you. And I guess I'm batting over 500 still, so still got people that are looking to employ me and give me the opportunity to have fun.
Now, obviously, Andretti is very focused right now on expanding with a new center in Indianapolis, and then trying to crack the nut that is Formula One. Are you involved in that process at all, or is that being handled by others?
So, as part of the management team at Andretti, I'm involved to some extent in all those things, right? But with as many things as we have going, obviously it only works because you have people, dedicated to certain areas of what you're doing. Right. So, Michael's heading up the Formula One initiative himself with Dan Towers and Mark Walter. And then there's already a group in the UK of about 20 people that are designing the car and putting the pieces in place if we're successful. All of the programs that we run in the States or in Europe, Formula E, Extreme, Indy Next, IndyCar, the sports car program that we acquired over the winter, all of those programs have dedicated managers for those programs.
Right.
And if you like, I'm there just to kind of look for synergies between those different programs where we can. It doesn't make sense across any of the Andretti companies be doing the same thing twice in different places,
of course,
but also make sure nothing falls through the gaps. And so I'm just kind of like trying to make sure that we're coordinating between all of those different programs. The new building that you mentioned that we're building in Fishers, Indiana, there's obviously a lot of work involved in that. And so again, I'm not at the front line necessarily of that, but I'm involved enough to make sure that we're covering all the bases we need to cover when we build and move into the building.
So we won't see you with the shovel in your hand, aside from groundbreaking?
You will not see me with a shovel in my hand, no.
Fair enough. With the F1 initiative, obviously there's an awful lot more to the acceptance than just being a valued team. There's obviously a lot of posturing. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of nonsense, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble with it. Like, I'm not looking for a controversial answer, but at the end of the day, try and ask this the right way. Is it worth the effort to try and get that outcome? Because it seems like, Christian Horner, absolutely opposed to it. No, because we can't do. It'll take away from our other teams. Toto Wolff, we can't have 22 cars or 24 cars on track, because if you look at how tight the garage is at Monaco, we just don't have room for, like, these are pretty flimsy excuses, where obviously Formula One has concentrated almost all of their energy on the United States. Now has 3 races. The closest other country is Italy with 2. Trying to get, obviously they want to get to the U.S. base, but for some reason they're opposed to having a U.S.-owned team, and I don't really understand what the objection is.
I think at the end of the day, right, they have a process. We're working our way through the process. Obviously we hope we're going to be successful. We're pretty determined to be successful. I think we've provided some pretty compelling presentations and materials about why we should be successful. At the end of the day, that's all we can do is show, put our best foot forward, show the benefit that we're going to bring to the series, and then let the FIA and FOM make the decision. We have to be patient, which we're not very good at as racers. We're focused on getting the end result and winning the race or the event. But they're also right. If you're Formula One, the last thing you want is a new team to come in, that new team to be there for 6 months and then disappear, and that isn't good for the credibility of the sport and credibility of the series. So there's a process in place. We're working through the process, and hopefully we'll be successful.
At the same time, big picture, with all the attention on the U.S., you get a U.S.-owned team, and obviously, Colton would be, the prime driver. It's been said publicly many times that, as long as he can get the super license points, he would be the first choice. How much more attention does that bring to the series? How much more, then you got more American sponsors that want to support. Then you got more eyes on the on the TVs, and it builds for everyone. So hopefully there's a little bit of common sense that prevails instead of so much posturing and self-protectionism.
We hope we'll be successful, but there's obviously a lot that goes on. Because we're not in Formula One, we're not party to the decision-making process. So we'll just be respectful. We'll keep working through the process.
Now, something really interesting I read last week is you guys are proposing, or at least planning to go in 2024 to no pay drivers on the IndyCar roster. Is that actually doable?
Yes, I mean, the business model for Andretti up till now has been typically 3 drivers that are paid by the team or partners, and then the 4th car has been with a paid driver. And as we look to make the IndyCar program more competitive, and obviously when you're racing against Ganassi, Penske, and McLaren, all of the drivers on those teams are the best drivers that the team can find.
Right.
We need to put ourselves in that same category. So it's the longer that the series sort of converges, the more you're looking for detail, the more you're looking for everyone to work together. And so it's a philosophy that we're fortunate to be able to make based on funding, but it's really just a change made to be more competitive across the board.
Now, obviously, you guys have had a really good start to the season. Cars have been running up front, a little bit of misfortune, maybe a little bit of bad decision making by some drivers along the way. What has to change within a team? Because last year, let's call it mediocre. It wasn't necessarily Colton had a lot of success, but everything else didn't really. Obviously there was some. I don't know if there was a little turmoil with Rossi leaving, if that played into it. But then something changed over the winter, and all of a sudden everything's up front. Is that mechanical? Is that engineering? Is that? And I'm not asking for a secret, but
it's never one thing, right? And as you say. Right, there were some dynamics last year that perhaps weren't as healthy as they could have been. Big effort over the off season to get that sorted out. And I think yes, as you say, in terms of speed across the board, we've had 5 poles in 9 races, and those poles have been spread amongst 3 drivers. So I think the performance of the team as a whole has picked up. It talks about decision making on Sunday, if you will, and execution on Sunday, and we won 1 race out of 9, so we've got to do a better job of converting those pole positions into wins.
Yeah.
And that's not one thing. Success in racing is never one thing, right? It's a sum of a whole bunch of little things that add up.
Yeah.
And that's decision making by the drivers, decision making by the team, it's execution by the team, it's being in the right place at the right time and not tripping over another driver. So there's all those things that all we do is keep pushing the message and keep working towards, we have to execute better on Sunday.
My father, and I don't know if you'll buy into this or not, my father-in-law is a drag racer. He raced his whole life, and he taught me one of the first lessons is you can never win without luck. Well, now, that doesn't mean you have to be lucky to win, but there's always something that happens at some point in a weekend that you decide to, make that pit call just before the flight comes out, or tire blows on the car in front of you, you just happen to get out of the right, you can't win without it. I believe it, and I've seen it enough times. That's not really?
I think, right, Roger Penske says that, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and I prefer to subscribe to that, right, is you prepare, you're ready when the right opportunity comes, and as I say, you have to execute when those opportunities happen.
Yeah. Now, I'll let you get back to work. I know you're very busy and cars are getting ready to head out here, but you've worked with obviously a number of drivers. And let's take your current staple out because I don't want to get anyone in trouble or, get you to play favorites. Out of the drivers that you've worked with, and you don't have to say Alex, I'm not prompting you for that, but who's a driver that you've worked with that had all that potential that just wasn't able to execute it, or who was someone that you thought was going to make it that just didn't manage to get that break that they needed? Or
that's a tough question. A lot of drivers over a lot of years, right? I mean, obviously, someone like Will Power, clearly, we saw from very early days had the potential, and has gone on to be super successful. And you look back at that first test that we did with him at Portland, and you're like, yep, we called that one right.
Yeah.
You call some wrong along the way, I think different drivers, you have different relationships with, different memories of those drivers, and so and some of it's circumstantial as well. So it's hard to say one particular driver, another driver.
Yeah.
Certainly, Alex. So many good memories of Alex. When I saw him yesterday, there was a photograph of Pole at Indy 500 in 2011, and that's a memory that for all of us will live on. And I think probably the biggest thing for me is of pretty much every driver I work with, I still have a great relationship with them, with great friends. And at the end of the day, when you've been doing this for a few years, that counts for a lot as well. And so happy to be able to say that.
And that's full circle there. We get back to that level of experience.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you very much. I really appreciate you giving us some time.
Again.
You too. Good luck this weekend.
Thank
man.
you.